Warm welcome, dear students. Today we are about to discuss modes of transfer of heat, basic ideas plus a few numericals. So first of all, what are the three methods through which heat gets transferred from one point to another? If we have a fireplace and we have a conducting rod, say made up of iron, aluminium, brass, if one side is heated, then after a few seconds we start feeling warmth on the other end also. So this mode of transfer of heat, in which basically one molecule transfers heat to the next, then next, and so on. There is no motion of the medium in this mode of transfer. In conduction, material particles do not move from one place to another. Basically, they transfer heat from one particle to the next and to the next and so on. This is the way heat flows from one end to the other end. This mode is known as conduction. And if we put our hands above a gas burner, then we feel more heat as compared to that felt on the sides. So this is the way the heat is flowing through molecular motion of air, or you can have molecular motion of some liquid medium. This mode of transfer of heat, in which the heat is transferred through motion of the molecules, is called convection. And third mode is radiation. If you start a gas burner in your kitchen, you start feeling heat on its sides also. So in this direction, there is no convection. Of course, there is a slight conduction due to air also, but that is comparatively very, very small. So heat is flowing through air. Even if there is a vacuum here, you would feel the heat incoming, because this mode of transfer of heat, called radiation, doesn't require any medium. So heat flows in the form of radiations, just like rays of light. Light doesn't require any medium to travel through. Similarly, radiations also do not require any medium to pass through. It could be vacuum, still they can flow. So we'll discuss all these three modes of transfer, mathematically also and theoretical also. So once again, conduction needs molecules, but molecules do not move. Convection needs molecules that can move. So molecules can move only in gases and solids. Hence, convection can take place only in liquids and gases. Solids do not have convection. Conduction can be there, no doubt. And radiation, the third method. Radiations are just like rays of light. If we have a source of heat here, like if we have a bulb here, light would go this way, this way, this way, in all directions. Same way, radiations would travel in all directions. And radiations do not require any medium, do not require any molecules. They travel in straight line. These you can compare just as rays of light, but light is visible to you. These radiations would be invisible to human eye, but they are coming. Okay, so first, conduction. In conduction, we need a medium. Medium could be solid, liquid, gas, any. So in this part, let us say we have maintained a source of heat. Say boiling water is here, maintained at temperature T1, and we have a conducting rod here, and this side is at a lower temperature. You can put ice on this side, so that heat flows through conduction from high temperature T1 to a lower temperature T2. And this portion is an insulation, so that heat flows only between source and the receptor, and there is no leakage of radiations or heat across the length of this rod. Hence we have an insulator in this part. Let me write here. This portion which is shaded, you can also shade in your diagram, is insulator, so that heat doesn't come out from this portion of the length. You may write it as insulator. Okay, length of the conductor across which heat is about to flow is equal to x. Temperature difference due to which heat is flowing is T1 minus T2. T1 of course is greater. T1 is greater than T2. And area of cross section of this conductor through which heat has to flow. No doubt you may not have it in the form of a cylinder. It could be in the form of a cuboid also, parallelepiped also. It could be in this form also, no problem. You can draw this way also. So we are focusing on this area called area of cross section, which is here now. So through which heat has to flow. So amount of heat will represent as Q, flowing per second. Heat energy that is conducted per second, Q by T, across this conductor. Heat flowing per second, Q by T, across the conductor is proportional to area of cross section. Larger area means more rate of flow of heat. It is also proportional to difference of temperature. Higher is the temperature difference, more would be the rate of flow of heat, and inversely proportional to this length across which heat flow has to take place. These are three parameters which are determined by the conditions, by the conductor's dimensions, length and area. When sign of proportionality is removed, we need a constant. That constant K depends on the material of the conductor. K is something which depends on nature of the material. That is, it would be different for copper, it would have different value for aluminium, for iron, for gold. So K is known as coefficient of thermal conductivity, or simply sometimes called thermal conductivity of the material. So let me repeat once more. If we have a conductor through which heat has to flow, area of cross section is A, length across which heat is about to flow is x, sometimes written as L, sometimes written as D, and K is the coefficient of thermal conductivity of this material. Temperatures maintained are T1 and T2. Then amount of heat flowing per second from higher temperature to lower temperature, heat flowing per second, energy flowing per second, is given by Q by T, rate of flow or rate of flow of heat. It is also called rate of flow of heat. Q by T is given by K, a constant which depends upon the nature of the material, area of cross section, temperature difference, divide by thickness or length across which the heat is about to flow. So now let me enlist some practical applications of thermal conductivity. If K is more, the material is good conductor of heat. You may have some materials for which K is less. They can act as good insulators for heat. We need both conductors as well as insulators in our routine life. So I am citing some examples based on conduction of heat. So first of all, pause it, and I am removing the extra ink. You may note down whatever is left on the screen now. Please note it down. Yes, let me add unit of K and dimensions of K. SI unit of K should be C. Heat flowing per second can be written as joule per second. X to be multiplied, that is meter. Area to be divided by means per meter square. And lastly, temperature difference is to be written as per Kelvin, or you may write per degree C. As told in the last lecture, temperature difference in degree Celsius and temperature difference in Kelvin, they are exactly numerically same. So 1 meter cancels with meter power minus 1, left with meter power minus 1. Joule per second can also be called watt. So you may write watt per meter per Kelvin. Okay. Further, if you want dimensions of K, let me do on this side. Dimensions of K. Dimensions of heat, Q, or you may write directly from here. Watt means power. Power means ml square T minus 3. Then meter power minus 1 means length power minus 1. And Kelvin you may write either K or you may write as theta. Okay, 1 power cancels. So m L T minus 3. MLT minus 3, theta minus 1. These are the dimensions of coefficient of thermal conductivity. So we have the basic formula, Q by T equal to K into area into temperature difference divided by thickness or length of the conductor. Coefficient of thermal conductivity K, SI unit either joule per second per meter per Kelvin or watt per meter per Kelvin, and dimensions MLT minus 3, theta minus 1. So hope everything has been noted down. Now some practical applications of conduction of heat. First case, if you keep your spoon, metallic spoon, inside hot tea for a little long time, the heat gets conducted across the length of the spoon, and you find after some time the complete spoon is quite hot. You would have experienced in your routine life. Next example. The handle of your cooking pan is made up of an insulator, plastic, acrylics. Reason, when we heat up the food, we heat up the container is made up of metal. Heat must flow easily from the source of heat to our food. For that purpose, the material used for the cooking pan must be of good thermal conductivity, so that heat can easily flow from the source to the food being cooked. But we do not require heat to be transferred to our hand. Hence, we need an insulating material here whose coefficient of thermal conductivity is low. You would have seen this thermocol piece meant to keep cold bodies. Sometimes when we transfer blood from one place to another, it is to be kept at low temperature. This is a carriage container. So it is made up of thermocol. Number one, thermocol has got bad thermal conductivity. K is small. So small k means amount of heat flowing per second from the exterior to the interior is small. K is less. Further, the thickness through which heat has to flow, this is the value of x. It is kept large. ice box is kept thicker so that amount of heat flowing, X is increased so that amount of heat flowing per second decreases. So it keeps a good insulation between your blood pouch, which is to be maintained at low temperature, and the surroundings, which is at high temperature. And same is the case of a refrigerator also. Refrigerator interior is maintained cold and outside heat tends to get into the refrigerator. So you would have seen the walls of the refrigerator are kept thick. Again, just this case, larger is the value of X, lesser would be the flow of heat from outside to the interior of the refrigerator. So again, we need a material of low thermal conductivity. Another example, if you visit forts, if you visit their bedrooms, in fact they are made with very thick walls. So again, if thickness is more, you notice thickness is very large, and when you go inside them, you feel so cool in the season of summers that it looks like as if it is centrally air conditioned, though there is no air conditioner, but still you find quite cool surroundings inside. Reason being, today what we are building houses, we are using bricks. In those days these were built with stones after cutting, and the wall used to be very, very thick. If thickness is more, through which heat has to flow, then just told amount of heat flowing per second is inversely proportional to thickness. So when X is large, amount of heat that enters the bedroom of such forts, that is very small. So interior remains quite cool. So that was the reason those old days people didn't require any refrigerator, didn't require any air conditioner. Okay, this item, you know, what is it called? Very nice. Igloo. Igloo is made with ice, and ice has got bad thermal conductivity. K is very small. So amount of heat which can flow here, interior is अंदर जो log है ना, interior is hot and exterior is at some negative temperature. So heat tends to come out from the interior to exterior. Higher temperature is inside. So if we want to keep our heat in, then we need some insulator, number one, and that insulator should be thick enough. So K for ice is very small, into area, into temperature difference, divide by thickness. Thickness of this igloo is kept very large. X is increased, K decreases, so amount of heat flowing out from the igloo, that is considerably reduced. So inside of the igloo is quite warm, quite comfortable. You know, birds usually swell their feathers. Birds usually swell their feathers in winters. Why? By doing so, they trap more air in their pockets. And air is also a bad conductor of heat. That is, coefficient of thermal conductivity is small. Just like case of thermocol. And that is why we tend to wear more number of clothing in winters, so that more clothes contain more amount of air inside them. And air being bad conductor of heat, it would protect you from the extreme colds. Okay, same is the case of quilt. रजाई जो होती है ना, quilt also contains a lot of pockets of air, and air is bad conductor of heat, and it would protect the flow of heat from your body to the exterior. Got it? Sometimes in exam there is a question, is a single blanket of thickness 1 inch better than 2 blankets of ½ inch thickness each? Try to answer it. Overall thickness is same, 1 inch. Yes, good answer. Lot many students have answered. ½ inch blankets joined together would have some air trapped here, and this air trapped would act as an insulator. So 2 ½ inch blankets are better than single 1 inch blanket. Good, very good. Another example, when an aeroplane reaches its desired height, like 11 kilometer approximately from the ground, and you know hill areas are quite cooler as compared to grounds, Mount Everest, and we are quite above the Mount Everest, 11 kilometer. So temperatures sometimes reach minus 54 degrees C, like this, and interior temperature must be comfortable, like 23 to 27 degrees C. So what would happen? Heat would tend to flow from interior of the plane to the exterior. So we need insulator. So between the outer body of the plane and inner lining of the plane, we need a good insulator. So these are the sheets which are insulating, which are retaining the heat inside the aeroplane, which do not allow it to flow out. Otherwise, if plane is open, that is if a window is broken, then at such a height the temperature would be too low to survive. Okay, you got the point? Okay, now a question from NCERT. In your booklet, it is question number 22. Two similar rectangular slabs, but one made up of iron, another made up of brass, are joined in series, and their lengths are thermally insulated so that no heat can flow anywhere around the length of the rod. The open end of iron is kept at 100 degrees C and that of brass at 0 degrees C. Question is, find the temperature of the interface if thermal conductivities of iron and brass are in the ratio 2:3. Okay, so this is say iron, this is brass. Iron and brass, two similar rectangular slabs, are in series. You know, in series connection of electricity, there is same flow of current. If you could recall class 10th, series means same flow of current. Here series would mean same flow of heat, amount of heat flowing per second across the iron slab and that across the brass slab. They would be equal. Okay, this is iron, this is brass, and this is the junction or interface where temperature is required. Okay, temperature given on the iron side is 100 degrees C, on the brass side it is 0 degrees C, and let the temperature of this point is T degrees C, which we have to determine. So amount of heat flowing per second being in series is same, that is whatever heat is flowing per second through this piece of iron, is same as amount of heat flowing through brass. Q by T are equal. And now we know what is the formula for Q by T. Heat flowing per second is given by K into area. This is area of cross section into difference of temperature T1 minus T2 divide by thickness through which heat has to flow. But being identical, both would have same thickness. X is same. Area also same. Okay. So K of iron, area same. Across iron, the temperature difference is 100 degrees C minus T. 100 degrees C minus T. And thickness was X. Same for brass, area same, thickness same, but K for brass would be different. And temperature difference across the brass would be, heat is flowing this way. That means T is greater than 0. So T minus T2. Let us put the values. A to be cancelled, X to be cancelled. So K of iron, T1 that is 100 minus T equal to K of brass, T minus 0. Further we know the ratio K iron to K brass is 2:3 as per the question. So you may write 100 minus T K of iron upon K of brass. This ratio is given to be 2/3. So let us write 2/3 into 100 minus T equal to T. Cross multiplying, 2 to be taken inside, 200 minus 2T equal to, take this 3 to right hand side, equal to 3T. All T is on right hand side, it becomes 5T equal to 200, cancel. So temperature of the junction or interface is 40 degree C. So the students who have the booklet, they can just check the question number 22 of properties of bulk matter. Others may note down question as well as solution. So you can pause the video to note it down. Yes, hope everybody has completed. Another question. There is a layer of ice 6 centimeter thick over the surface of a lake. The temperature of the air above is 263 Kelvin. There is a frozen lake, ice. Of course, below ice, you know, there is water. Temperature outside is 263 K, or you may write it as minus 10 degrees C. And inside temperature, because in this region ice is getting formed. So ice getting formed, that means temperature in this region should be 0 degree C. 0 degree C means in Kelvin you may write 273 K. And still more ice is getting formed, that means heat is escaping from water below at temperature 273 K to colder region. Heat would flow from higher temperature to lower temperature. And you are given heat conducted per second, rate of loss of heat from water to air is 200 joule per second per meter square. So I have to consider an area of 1 meter square here. Let me take out a piece of 1 meter square out, like this. You could get the diagram, I think. A piece has been taken out whose area is 1 meter square. Thickness of ice is given to be 6 centimeter. This thickness is 6 centimeter. Temperature below is 273 K. Temperature above is 263 K. You have got all the values. We require what is the thermal conductivity of the ice. K is desired. So I think I am able to explain the diagram to you. So if we have a piece of ice 6 centimeter thick, area 1 meter by 1 meter, that is 1 meter square. 6 centimeter can be changed to meter, 0.06 meter. Let us be in SI units only. Then amount of heat flowing per second, joule per second, and per unit area, that is given to be 200 joule. So let us write once again the formula for rate of flow of heat, which was Q by T is equal to K into area into difference of temperature divided by thickness. Now what we have been given, we are not given Q by T, we are given Q per unit area per unit time. So let me take this area to left hand side. So it turns out to be Q by AT equal to K into difference of temperature by X. You have to put the values here now. This one is 200, K is to be calculated. T1 minus T2 is 273 minus 263, basically 10. And X to be substituted as 0.06, and rest is up to you. Solve it, complete it, get the value of K. Rest is left for you to do. Okay. Now next case, convection. Convection is a mode of transfer in which, as told, there is actual motion of the matter. Material would move by itself, and you know motion of molecules is possible only in gases and liquids, which are together known as fluids. Very nice. So if we heat up water in a flask, let us first understand the mechanism. This portion which gets heated up, it undergoes thermal expansion, and if something expands, its volume increases. On expansion, volume would increase, volume would become larger, volume increases, but mass remains same. So for same mass, if we have more volume, that means density would decrease. Volume increases, density decreases. And due to buoyancy, the matter whose density is small, that is going to rise up under buoyancy, and the heavy matter would come down. So let me repeat. The part of the liquid which gets heated up, that expands thermally. Expansion means its density decreases. Low density liquid comes up and high density liquid comes down. I can give another example from your practical life. If in a petrol tank of a scooter you pour some water, must not do it, I am just explaining. If you put water into it, water would go to the bottom, oil reaches up because density of oil is smaller. Heavier density would always be at the bottom, light density would always be on the upper side. Okay, if you don't understood this part, then in a theater, when you buy popcorns, you know there are two types of popcorns. the one which have large volume, अगर हिंदी में बात करें, जिन कॉर्न्स का पॉप हो चुका है, those corns who have popped out, they are found on the upper regions, and there are some leftover who couldn't increase their volume. You find them on lower side. Am I right? Yes. Because their volume was small, their density was large density at the bottom, high density on the upper side. So the water which is heated up, that comes to the upper side, and the colder water comes to the downside where source of heat is located. So molecular motion begins, the particles of the matter start moving, but motion is possible only in liquids and gases. So only liquids and gases can be heated through convection. Solids can't be done. Okay, so mechanism is clear now. And the concept of buoyancy is possible only when there is a presence of acceleration due to gravity, when there is a weight. So gravity must be present to have the process of convection. If gravity is absent, no convection can take place. Even the process of breeze, process of wind, that is through convection. The area region across which sun shines more heat energy is received, air in that part rises up, and the colder air from the other regions start coming in to take the vacant place. So the formation of breeze, formation of winds, that is also based on convection. Other applications are, we had ventilators in our houses. Why had? If you visit your grandparents' house, you may find in a wall there is a door, there is a window, and there is a ventilator on the upper side which is kept open. Why? That as temperature increases, the air inside the house would start rising up, and that air escapes from this ventilator. That was a good idea, but these days we are using AC, so all the ventilation has been closed. This was the mechanism to keep your house cool. This was the method. So in old houses you will still get them. So ventilator automatically cleans up hot air and allows cold air to get into the house. Another application, winds are consequence of convection, already told. Cooking on a gas stove. Your pressure cooker, all cooking utensils, they have burner on the bottom side. Have you ever imagined if we have a burner on the upper side, what would happen? If the flame is coming from upper side to lower side? In that case, the upper food would be cooked only, because on heating up due to buoyancy, hotter part comes up, lower part being cold would never rise up, so lower part gets never cooked. That is why the burner is located below the cooking utensil. And lastly, in your washroom geysers, there are heating rods which you would find at the bottom of the geyser. So water is to be heated through convection, so source of heat is to be placed below. So remember two things. Number one, heat source always at the bottom. Number 2, cooling system always at the top. You know cooling is done through AC. You know your AC may be window AC or split AC. It is placed where? Across a wall where you have your split AC. Bottom side or upper side? Very nice. Upper side. Because cooling system is to be placed on the upper side. And in winters, now winters are about to come. These days you may use a heater. Heater is to be placed at the floor. So heating to be done from the bottom and cooling to be done from the top. Because all these processes require convection. So water heating in geysers, cooking in kitchen, positioning of AC, positioning of room heater, they are all based on process of convection. So there is no formula for this case. You need to go through only theoretical content and the applications. Okay, you can pause and note it down. Extra ink I am removing. Okay, now last process, radiation. Radiations, as told, are like rays of light. Say this is Earth surrounded by atmosphere, and this all region is vacuum, and here we have sun. Heat is coming to Earth from the sun through vacuum in the form of radiation. Only this portion is atmosphere. Only some portion around the earth is atmosphere, and this whole region is vacuum. So radiations do not require any medium for their transfer. Secondly, radiation, just like rays of light, travel in straight line. They can cast a shadow. Properties are almost like those of light. Only difference is these radiations carry heat energy, and these radiations are invisible to human eye. So it is called radiation, and energy is transferred through waves called electromagnetic waves or radiant energy. These radiations can be reflected, these can be refracted, they travel in straight line. If you could recall, in a room heater, there is a reflector placed below it. We have a reflector here in a room heater. Reason being, just like in your two-wheeler or your car headlight, below the headlight, below the bulb, you have a reflector in the headlight. What does it do? Whatever rays are coming backwards, they are reflected back to form a parallel beam. It acts like a concave mirror. So same way here, these radiations which are coming in the backward direction, these may be reflected back so that there is a net flow of heat in one direction, because heat is required by the person sitting here, right? So if heat is going backwards towards a wall, that is wastage of energy. So what I told, heat radiations, thermal radiations can be reflected. They can be refracted, they can pass through glass. When you are sitting in a car, winter days, sunlight is coming in. That means heat is also coming in through the window of the car. Agreed? And they travel in straight line. Now in month of Jan, there is a Lodi festival in North India, is it? And the fire, as it blooms up, the amount of heat also increases. So sometimes it becomes intolerable. So what people do? They would place the plate they are carrying or newspaper they are carrying in front of their face, so that heat radiations do not reach their face. Am I right? Because radiations can cause a shadow also, being traveling in straight line. So you can protect your face. Radiations won't reach here. So properties just same as those of light. And how much heat is coming out of a given source of heat? For that we have a law called Stefan-Boltzmann law. Law says heat energy radiated by a perfect black body. No doubt it is very difficult to have a perfect black body. There is only perfect black body in our universe. Those are called black holes. But we can't approach them. Yes, near to black body could be. If we have a utensil which is used in your villages over a chula, it gets perfectly black, almost black. Such surfaces can be called to be nearly black body. So law is for a nearly black body, amount of heat radiated per second per unit area, that is directly proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature. Let me explain it a bit more. Of course, this is not a black body, but if it is a black body and we have an area of 1 meter square here, its temperature is T, then amount of heat which is radiated by it per second per unit area, heat radiated per unit area per second, is proportional to fourth power of its absolute temperature. Temperature means temperature must be in Kelvin. You know absolute temperature means temperature in Kelvin. So this heat flowing per unit area per second is given another name called emittance, denoted by E. So E is proportional to fourth power of temperature. Of course, we will have some constant. That constant is called Stefan-Boltzmann constant, sometimes purely Stefan's constant. So E equal to sigma T power 4. I am reminding, E is not energy. It is heat energy radiated per unit area per second, called emittance. So what is to be noted down? Let me remove the extra ink. E stands for emittance. Be careful. Emittance means heat energy radiated per unit area per second. That is called emittance, which is proportional to fourth power of absolute temperature. And we have a constant written as sigma. Sigma is called Stefan-Boltzmann constant. Its value you need not remember. If there is a numerical, value of sigma would be given, but for the sake of completion I would write, in SI system value of sigma is 5.67 10 power minus 8 joule per second per meter square, K power minus 4 due to temperature power 4. And in CGS system it is 5.67 into 10 power minus 5. Joule per second can be written as watt also, as told earlier. Energy per second is power. You can write it as watt. It is arg per second centimeter power minus 2 Kelvin power minus 2. Now, what is the logic behind the unit? And let me write the dimensions also for sigma. So sigma is heat energy per unit area per second and temperature power 4. Heat energy means joule, area means per meter square, time means per second, and temperature power 4 means unit K minus 4, right? Now dimensions. Any energy, heat energy or any other energy, same dimensions, ml to T minus 2. Area L square. Time T, and please take care, temperature as theta power 4. L square cancels. So dimensions are m, take this T to numerator, it becomes minus 3 and theta becomes minus 4. These are the dimensions of Stefan's Boltzmann constant. Now please note down, pause the video, and there is one more equation to complete this topic. Okay, hope everybody has noted down. Lastly, if the object from which radiations are coming out is placed in a surroundings, in a container, temperature of this black body is equal to T and temperature of the surroundings is let us say T naught. This portion is maintained at temperature T naught. So what would happen? It would lose out some energy given by sigma T power 4, but at the same time this surrounding would also radiate some energy towards this black body, and that energy radiated back would be sigma into T naught power 4. Let me explain again. If an object is lying in space, vacuum, then only heat is given out. But if we have a surroundings also, then surroundings also radiate some energy back. So energy given out per second per unit area is sigma T power 4, and energy which is received back is sigma into T naught power 4. So net loss of energy per second in such a situation would be given by energy lost minus energy gained. Take sigma common. So sigma T power 4 minus T naught power 4. Lastly, this relation, this is when body is in isolation. Only object is present, no surroundings. This relation is valid when there is presence of surroundings. In this case, sigma T power 4 temperature of the object minus temperature of surroundings power 4. It is when the given object is a black body. If the object is not a perfect black body, no problem, then we have emittance of a black body is to emittance of a non-black body. This ratio is called emissivity. Please do not get confused. This was emittance. There are two different terms. Emissivity is the ratio of emittance of a non-black body to that of a black body at the same temperature. Of course, value of E is less than 1. Black bodies are good radiators. They radiate better than non-black bodies. So emittance of a non-black body divided by that of a black body, this ratio is called E. Emissivity, hence you may write emittance of a non-black body is E times that of a black body. So multiply equation A or equation B with small e, that would give a result for non-black body. So a non-black body, you can write E into sigma T power 4 when the body is in isolation, and if body is surrounded by a medium, then you write it as emissivity into sigma T power 4 minus T naught power 4. That is all for today. Please pause and note down this relation for a non-black body when the body is in isolation, and this relation is for a non-black body when it is surrounded by an enclosure of temperature T naught. So there is one derivation based on this relation which would come in next class, known as Newton's law of cooling. Derivation important, as well as numericals are important both for JEE, NEET, as well as your school exam, because you know pattern of examination has changed. Now you have around 50% portion in the form of MCQs, assertion reasoning, and case based questions. So thank you for joining. Like the video, share the video with the other people, and subscribe to my channel to get the further updates. Thank you.